The first thing I learned about Iris Bennett's apartment was that the buzzer didn't work. The stairwell light was busted, and her sister answered the door like she'd been standing there waiting for a crime to happen. I was holding 140 pounds of stubborn woman against my chest, her arm looped around my neck, her ankle swollen up like a water balloon, and before I could even say hello, this stranger in a gray cardigan looked me dead in the eye and said, "So you're the one." I had no idea what that meant. I still don't think I fully understand it, even now. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Nathan Cole. I was 30 years old, a structural engineer at a mid-sized firm in Denver, and up until that Tuesday afternoon, my relationship with Iris Bennett had been exactly what it looked like on paper. Co-workers. Cubicles 2 rows apart. Polite nods in the break room. She brought in banana bread every other Friday and never once offered me a slice, which I found both insulting and, if I'm honest, sort of charming, because Iris didn't do anything by accident. If she skipped you on banana bread day, it meant something. I just didn't know what. Iris was 27, a project coordinator with sharp brown eyes, a ponytail that never stayed put past 2 p.m., and the kind of dry humor that made meetings bearable and occasionally made grown men reconsider their opinions out loud. She corrected people's math in front of clients. She never apologized for being right. And she had exactly zero patience for men who tried to explain her own spreadsheets back to her, which, in an office full of men who loved doing exactly that, made her something of a local legend. I liked her. I'd liked her for about 8 months, quietly, the way you like something you've decided isn't allowed to be yours. She'd mentioned once, offhand, that she didn't date coworkers, ever, on principle, because she'd watched it go badly for exactly one too many people in exactly one too many open-floor offices. So I filed her under complicated and left it there. Filed and forgotten. Or so I told myself. Then the scaffolding incident happened. We were doing a site walk at a renovation project downtown, hard hats, clipboards, the whole routine. Iris was 3 steps ahead of me, arguing with a contractor about drainage specs, when a loose plank shifted under her boot and she went down hard, ankle twisting sideways in a way ankles are not supposed to twist. She didn't scream. That was the first thing that scared me. Iris made noise about everything: printer jams, slow elevators, bad coffee. The silence meant it was bad. "Don't," she said, when I crouched next to her. "Don't you dare say it's probably fine." I wasn't going to say that. You were absolutely going to say that. I got her to the site trailer, got the contractor to call it in, and after 2 hours in urgent care and an x-ray that came back as a bad sprain instead of a break, the doctor handed her a boot, a set of crutches, and a very stern warning about staying off it for a week. Iris looked at the crutches like they'd personally insulted her. "I'll take a cab," she said. "You live on the 3rd floor of a building with no elevator." "I'm aware of the geography of my own home, Nathan." "Then you're aware this is a bad plan." She glared at me for a solid 5 seconds, weighing, I think, whether dignity was worth a night of dragging herself up 3 flights on one working leg. Dignity lost. "Barely." "Fine," she said. "But you tell no one at the office." "I would never." "You absolutely would. You'd tell Marcus by lunch tomorrow." "Marcus already knows. He drove us to urgent care." She groaned and put her head back against the seat, and something about the exhausted, defeated sound of it made my chest do a thing I didn't have time to examine. Her building was old, brick, charming in the way old buildings are charming right up until you're carrying an injured woman up 3 flights of stairs with a broken stairwell light and a banister that wobbled if you looked at it wrong. I ended up just picking her up outright around the 2nd landing, because watching her hop on one crutch while gripping a railing that clearly wanted to retire was worse for my nerves than any awkwardness that came with carrying her. "I can walk," she said into my shoulder, not fighting it very hard. "You can hop. That's different. This is humiliating. This is Tuesday." She laughed, short and surprised, like she hadn't expected to. Her arm tightened around my neck. She smelled like rain and the inside of a hospital, and, underneath that, something warmer, like vanilla and paper. I decided not to think about that too closely either. That's when the door at the top of the stairs opened. The woman standing there had Iris's same sharp eyes, same stubborn set of the jaw, but softer around the edges, younger, maybe by a couple years, wearing a gray cardigan and an expression that suggested she'd been rehearsing something for a while and had finally gotten her chance to say it. "Iris," she said, eyes going wide at the boot, the crutches propped uselessly under my other arm. "What happened?" "Scaffolding happened." "I'm fine, Dell." Dell's eyes slid from her sister's ankle up to me, and I watched something calculate behind them, fast, sharp, unmistakably amused. "So you're the one," she said. I blinked. "I'm sorry." "Nathan," Iris said warningly. "The coworker," Dell said, like she was reading it off a file. "The one from the banana bread thing." I looked at Iris. Iris looked like she was contemplating whether her injured ankle would survive a fast exit back down the stairs. "What banana bread thing?" I said. "Nothing," Iris said. "She makes it for the whole office except you," Dell said cheerfully, holding the door open wider so I could carry her sister through it. "Every single Friday. On purpose. For 8 months. You want to know why?" "Delphine." "I would love to know why," I said. "Because," Dell said, ignoring the death glare her sister was aiming at her from my arms, "if she gives you banana bread, she has to talk to you like a normal coworker. And Iris does not trust herself to talk to you like a normal coworker." I set Iris down carefully on the couch, propped her ankle on a pillow her sister produced from somewhere, and turned around slowly to look at the woman I had just apparently been carrying around for 8 months of very deliberate baked good avoidance. "Is that true?" I asked. Iris's ears had gone a shade of pink I had genuinely never seen on a human being before. "Dell has a flair for the dramatic." "I have a flair for accuracy," Dell said, disappearing into the kitchen. "I'll get ice." For a second, it was just the two of us. Iris on the couch looking like she wanted the cushions to swallow her whole. Me standing in the middle of her living room, still holding a set of crutches like some kind of confused knight who'd shown up to the wrong castle. "You skip me on banana bread day because you don't trust yourself to talk to me?" I said. "That is a wild oversimplification of a complex system of professional boundaries." It sounded pretty simple to me. "You carried me up 3 flights of stairs. You're not exactly thinking clearly right now either." She had a point. I set the crutches against the wall and sat down on the coffee table across from her, close enough that our knees nearly touched. "For the record," I said, "I would have liked the banana bread." "For the record," she said, "I would have given it to you eventually. Probably. When I had better control of my face." "What's wrong with your face?" "It does an unfortunate thing around you. It's very inconvenient." I felt something warm crack open in my chest, slow, unhurried, like a door swinging wide after years of being stuck. "What kind of unfortunate thing?" "The kind where I forget I have opinions about your engineering drafts and just think about the shape of your forearms instead." I laughed before I could stop myself. "That's the most romantic insult I've ever gotten." "I contain multitudes." Dell reappeared with a bag of frozen peas and an expression that said she had heard every word of that exchange and had no intention of pretending otherwise. She dropped the peas gently onto her sister's ankle, straightened, and looked at me with the particular scrutiny of a younger sibling who had appointed herself unofficial head of security. "So," she said, "are you going to ask her out? Or do I have to stage an intervention?" "Dell, I'm asking a fair question. She's been talking about you since March." "March," I repeated. Iris closed her eyes like she was praying for the floor to develop a trapdoor. "I hate both of you." "You don't," Dell said. "You made him banana bread avoidance a whole personality trait, and now he's in your living room. This is basically a proposal." "It is an ankle injury," Iris said. "It is not a proposal." I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, close enough now that I could see the faint gold in her brown eyes, the same flecks her sister had, but warmer somehow, closer, mine to look at for however long she'd let me. "For what it's worth," I said quietly, "I've had opinions about you since roughly the second week I started. I just didn't know what to do with them." Iris's breath caught. "What kind of opinions?" "The kind where I reread emails from you twice, because I like the way you argued a point. The kind where I noticed you always ate lunch at your desk on Thursdays because that's when your sister calls. You noticed that? I notice a lot of things about you, Iris. I just don't have a flair for the dramatic, so I never said anything. Dell, watching this unfold with the satisfaction of a woman who had just won a very long bet with herself, cleared her throat loudly. I'm going to go be somewhere else now, she announced, grabbing her coat off the hook by the door. Text me if you need anything. Or don't. Actually, don't. I've heard enough for one evening. The door clicked shut behind her. The apartment went quiet except for the hum of the radiator and the soft rustle of the peas shifting on Iris's ankle. She's a lot, Iris said. I liked her. Everyone likes Delaware. It's very unfair. I reached over and gently adjusted the pillow under her foot, my hand brushing her ankle, careful, deliberate. Iris. Yeah? Would it be against the office no dating rule if I asked you to dinner once that boot comes off? She considered this with the same seriousness she brought to correcting spreadsheets in client meetings. The rule was more of a guideline. Is that a yes? That's a yes, Nathan. Obviously. I grinned, and for the first time in 8 months, I didn't feel like I had to file the feeling away and forget about it. I let it sit there, right out in the open, the way Iris apparently had been letting hers sit for a lot longer than I'd realized. 3 weeks later, the boot came off. I picked her up for our first official date wearing the shirt she later admitted she'd been hoping I'd wear, and when I knocked on the door, it wasn't Dell who answered this time. It was Iris herself, steady on both feet, smiling like she'd been waiting for this exact moment since the day the scaffolding gave out. You're on time, she said. I had motivation. Good. Dell wants a full report by Sunday. Dell is getting nothing. Dell is getting everything. I have no secrets from that woman. It's a whole system. 6 months after that, Dell showed up at our door unannounced on a Tuesday evening, walked straight past both of us into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and pulled out a loaf of banana bread that Iris had baked that morning. The same recipe, the same Friday tradition, except now there was a second loaf sitting right beside it labeled, in Iris's handwriting, for Nathan, obviously. Dell held up both loaves, one in each hand, and looked between us with the smug satisfaction of someone who had called it from the very beginning. So she said, "You're still the one." I looked at Iris. Iris looked at me, that same dry, unimpressed smile that had undone me from the very first week I met her. Except now it came with her hand slipping into mine like it belonged there, like it had always belonged there. And I figured some things really were that simple after all. What would you have done if you carried your injured coworker home and her sister opened the door already knowing exactly who you were? Have you ever had someone else's family figure out your feelings before you did? Tell your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.